about this is that, this is a year that may not be like other years. There has always been this tension between the political dynamic and the sort of normative debate about the issue that takes place in Congress and in the society on the one hand, and different administrations, Republicans and Democrats, weighing in at the last minute often to say that for strategic reasons, as a matter of U.S. national interest, we need to approach this in a different way with Turkey. And it's not come to the floor for a vote. And, this year, the two issues, in my view, that will be absolutely critical to reasserting that sort of an approach by Obama, in my judgment, will be, on the one hand, the question of opening the border and proceeding with the rapprochement, with the agreement, implementing it with Armenia, which is why I think, yes, it may or may not be helpful in terms of resolution of Nagorno-Karabakh. I tend to agree with Jos that, this will be a different approach and maybe it'll work, because the old thing clearly doesn't work. But I think for much bigger reasons, viewed from the point of view of U.S. national interest, it's terribly important that the thing proceed so that we can have a more normal relationship with Turkey on this question. The other issue, and I think it's very important, is Iran. I mean, I think it's going to be much harder for the administration to make this case again in Congress if Turkey abstains on a sanctions vote in the UN on Iran nuclear. It's tough. I mean, this is politics, and that will be one of the measures along with the Armenia-Turkey rapprochement.
I agree. I think the Iran issue and Iran sanctions issue will be a critical one. Yet, ironically, I think the stomach for heavy sanctions, at least in Eurasia, but bluntly, China and Russia, is very weak, and Europe is mixed. I would guess on this, although perhaps leaning more towards tougher line. But yes, that will be. And so it does. The policy of good neighbors with everybody doesn't mean that you aren't still forced to take certain choices. I would be inclined to think that Turkey, in the end, may find itself more in keeping with the regional powers, which would suggest that it would be unenthusiastic about the sanctions. But what that means in voting, I don't know. I do welcome the fact that Turkey is in close contact with Iran on this. I don't know that Turkey can't work any magic, but it's helpful to have as many serious states engaged in this as possible.
I mean, if I might just add, Graham, I think, it is perfectly true, although I'm not very optimistic about it, that Turkey has tried to play a very, very active diplomatic role, but even in more practical terms, offering all sorts of rather, sort of practical steps to try to encourage a deal on enrichment, fuel rods and so on with Iran. I mean, this has not really gone anywhere, but it is the way, from the Turkish point of view, to get out of this dilemma. To actually play an active role in the diplomacy that helps to resolve the issue, because otherwise these multiple pressures create enormous dilemmas for Turkish policy, and it's very difficult for Turkey to come away with a good result from it.
One question that we mentioned very early on, and has been mentioned in Washington in the past, is Turkey lost to the West? I wonder if we just had some quick takes on that view. Was it?
Which is a cradle of democracy. I would appreciate if we just continue debating on this issue, because just speaking and blaming each other, it's not the way how we can understand each other's opinions. And I do feel obliged, morally, first of all, to respond to what was said, and with your permission, I will do that.
Okay, but we have other topics than just this, but please go ahead briefly.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
If you could stand up, do so.
I definitely would. Thank you very much. And I can actually come forward so you can see me really well. So you said quite a good frame. What you said, sir, Mr. Ligondy, it was just blame and not the answer to my question. And my question was not about specifically what the Turkish Armenian remote reading was about, but what unlinked Turkish Armenian Azerbaijan, because the topic and the issue discussed was how this issue is linked to dealing. And believe me, it's very important for everyone to understand that Azerbaijan's position is that Turkish Armenian is good. That's the Americans. As from a spokesperson, I like to say things on record and off record. So we do not believe in bad relations between our members, and that was very straightforwardly mentioned by our officials. But we do believe that everyone should be responsible in the region. And we do believe that if one nation occupies the land of another nation, there cannot be comprehensive peace. So therefore we do believe, and when you said you have to stimulate Armenia, how I can stimulate a country which occupies my land? So therefore we do believe that after occupation, Turkish-Armenia proportional will be very beneficial for Turkey, for Armenia, and Azerbaijan. And believe me, strong Azerbaijan is very much interested in strong neighbors. And we're ready to invest to Armenia, to everybody else, but only after the obstacles in the region.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody want to comment on that? I mean, I think it's a clear exposition of Azerbaijan's position.
Well, the gentleman is very good in restating the same. So I'm not here to repeat myself again. I disagree with your position, but okay, it's your country's position. You have to represent it here as a diplomat. But I don't think it makes much sense for us to repeat ourselves as well. So. Okay.
Yes, but I would like to move on from just rehashing the Azerbaijan situation. But,
yeah, a very brief comment. Actually, I wonder why Mr. Levin puts the responsibility of a possible failure of the protocols only on Turkey. I mean, given that Armenia doesn't play really a very positive and constructive role, and that especially like to refer to the constructive decision that pointed the whole environment. Under these circumstances, I wonder why no Western country, including the United States and the European Union as well, doesn't really see the fact that Armenia is occupying parts of Azerbaijan, and they are the ones actually isolated in this region, and it is to the best interest of Armenia to find a solution. And I think the West, including the European Union and the United States, puts this pressure unfairly on Turkey because it doesn't have any other leverage over the Armenia, and this is really unjust, unfair, and this creates a big reaction in Turkey.
I mean, I would, yeah.
No, I take your point, sir. I think it's an important point to be made to American policymakers in particular. As to, I don't know how they will react to it, but it's certainly a rational position on it. And I don't know if any of the rest of us want to comment further on that issue. And in that case, I probably, since we would like to end at 3, as we promised to do, I would just like to say, I think, well, we've touched on a huge number of issues today, any one of which really deserves a day in itself. But I do hope that we have achieved the goal of suggesting the complexity of issues and the background of issues that currently drive Turkey, so that questions like who lost Turkey or Turkey's become anti-Israeli or that Turkey's become Islamist or all of these really extreme oversimplifications just have no place. We can see that there are major political, economic, social, geopolitical forces at work here which are very deep and are moving, and the world at the same time is moving in new directions with less unipolar world, diminishing U.S. influence over all the players. And Turkey suddenly waking up to a regional role that has been there in past centuries, but that had been somewhat quiet for many, many decades. So I think we see a dynamic new Turkey that may in some ways help U.S. interests. In other respects, it may be neutral or in some perceptions possibly temporarily negative. But